Man, I'm so sorry, you guys. I should have did this on Dr. King's birthday, let alone yesterday. I dozed off before I did this, or intended on doing this. I just want to say props to Dr. King to think of all the stuff that he went through and still just soldiered on, even when he seemed like as if he was by himself, with only his wife by his side. That says a whole lot. I want everybody to think of what you know about Dr. King. A lot of people know about him through his I Have a Dream speech, but if you read about what he's gone through, what he went through, especially like in his last years, his family and him pretty much were being hunted. Think about that. All the terrorist acts that he faced, all the stress. He was a young guy too. And to still keep trudging on like that says a whole lot. I mean, think about yourself in his position and what he went through. You know, of course, he wasn't the only one. You know, but I'm thinking about him as a leader and what he did, his works. You know, a lot of people will get on the whole integration thing, but I'll tell you guys this: I believe in black autonomy, and I say that in two different ways. I believe that we should be self sufficient, and no one should be telling us what to do as a people. But I also believe that we should be able to go anywhere that we want to go without any hassles, you know, as far as like, I guess, public things, like a restaurant and all that. It doesn't make any sense not to. And he fought for that. People think, I don't look at integration in the same way of a lot of sort of our peers on here do. I understand why people are kind of opposed to it now, but back then you have to understand it's one thing where, you know, you can't, I mean, it's, yeah, we still have sundown towns, so that should give you an idea. Why would you even want something like that? So I think Dr. King was pretty much fighting against all that stuff, you know? Integration for him was just like, hey, I got to go to I mean, some people have to go to a fountain or something like that. Why go to like a few towns over to where, these, black fountains were? Or if you had to go to the restroom, like you had to, go to a non-white restroom. I'm sure it was a hassle. My mom talks about going through that, you know? I know people that faced all that stuff. Most black people my age do. Um, but think about this. I think later on, he recognized it was more than just integrating a counter at a diner. There was a whole economic thing that needed to happen, which we never have been equal on. And we've had to fight harder because of it. And I think he recognized that even more so later on. You know, it's a trip to think about just him learning a lot as well as just him leading, and just the fact that I'm gonna say this, he had a pretty much, I mean, I use this sparingly, and when I say this, I'm speaking in like an LA slang term, kind of gangster with it. I mean, to be facing people threatening your life, to be facing your family being in danger. I'm not saying this in like like, yeah, man, this is cool. No, it's not cool. What happened to him was not cool at all. But the fact that he was a man about his and he stuck to his guns, man, or non-guns in his case. He didn't have any weapons. Yeah, he had the deacons of defense, but there's a lot of times where, I mean, he didn't have anything. Like he just trudged on his own. And the fact that he spoke truth to power too. He wasn't just talking about integrating a lunch counter, he was also talking about black reparations and basically what this nation owes and still owes us. People want to sidestep the "we're coming for the check" speech. He's like, hey, he broke it down, and like what happened to us. You have a lot of these, white American people talk about bootstraps, and even some immigrant types talk about lifting yourself up by the bootstraps. But like he said in one of his speeches, we have a totally different experience than any white American, of course. But not only that, we have experiences that a lot of immigrants, non-black immigrants, don't have. Our whole history was different when it came to just what happened to us and everything, and how it was a concerted effort to keep us in a position of being non-human and non-existent and invisible. And even putting those who immigrated over here over us, preferring that, especially if they were from Europe. He talks about that, And of course, he was anti-war. You have a leader speaking not only on like the plight of his own people, but also just U.S. policy. And that's when they really got pissed, because they realized how much power he had. He didn't just have power here as far as the influence in America. He had a lot of power in influences. I'll say this. He had influences. He had influence even worldwide. People heard about him and how noble he was. So for a noble man to call out the U.S. on their deviltry, they really revved it up against him. Sending threatening letters, and even eventually just killing him. And the sad part about that, a lot of us didn't know that he didn't just die when he got shot. He was taken to the hospital and they killed him. I wish I found the article now. I think I probably even did a video on this, I'm not sure. But they basically, you had these cops and these sort of like Dixie Mafia types in the hospital room spitting all over him and everything, and they smothered him. Yeah, this happened. You can read about that. Look that up. And every time I think about it, my blood just boils. They killed him. They blatantly killed him. Lord have mercy. But the thing is, we're definitely celebrating his legacy. Sorry about that, guys and girls. And just what would we do if we were not only in his position, but what are we doing to further what his dream seriously was? Now, I have a dream speech, everybody knows, but the thing is, all the other speeches were pretty much, they were the deeper level of that particular speech and the work that you have to do to get to the dream that he was talking about. I think he realized that later on when and maybe he just realized that now. I'm sorry, at the moment, but just realized that the dream wasn't as simple as people might think. Everybody will always quote that, but they don't want to quote basically his speech about negative peace, because regular white moderates could give a care less about justice for black people. They ignored the fact that he was advocating for reparations. That's the dream that he had. They ignore the fact that he called out the U.S. for the evil that they did, or they were not only doing here, but also in other places. That stuff is real. Yeah, let's not just quote, "I have a dream," because the thing is, the dream was being talked about even in his other speeches when he was speaking truth to power. And those speeches are even better, I think, because they go into detail about what to do to attain that dream. God bless you guys. Memory eternal, Dr. King. May the Lord rest your soul. Have a nice day.